Welcome back to How to Start a Cannabis Farm. My name is Jared, and I'm your motherfucking host again. So, this time around, we are going to talk about the ego and how cannabis growing philosophies kind of intertwine with it, and even the future. So, with that, let's get into it. The current climate right now, as I'm sure you've witnessed on Instagram, has been organics are good, synthetics are bad. Anyone using synthetics is fucking up the environment. If you're using fertilizers, you're causing all this nitrate runoff and algae blooms, and you guys fucking get it. Another one is outdoor and greenhouse are good because they're sustainable and due to their carbon footprint and their cost, whereas indoor is bad because it costs a lot of money and it's a big old carbon footprint. And unfortunately, the cost of that is being passed down to the actual users. Trust me, indoor farmers are getting their margins. But I kind of wanted to talk about, I guess, indoor farming. And so you almost have to go even further back to, well, the 10th and 11th century with the Aztecs. So I was doing some research with Golden Hill Grower the other day while we were doing some planning. And one of the things that we ran across was that some of the first, I guess, uses of hydroponics were by the Aztecs, in which they built rafts out of reeds and roots and basically just put soil on top. And then they put their plant in there and sent that bitch out into the middle of the water. And the roots would grow down and grow into the water, and that was, their hydroponics. Now, according to a 1938 Times Magazine article, and I'm reading this from a little thing I got off the internet, can't remember where it was, but I should have told you that, sorry. I got better shit to do, unfortunately. One of the first commercial uses of hydroponics occurred during this period, 1938. Based on the research taking place at Berkeley. Tanks of mineralized water were used to grow things like beans and tomatoes and vegetables on Wake Island, a small piece of land out in the Pacific Ocean. This island was also used as a refueling stop for Pan Am Airways. I don't know if you're familiar, but they're a now defunct airline. And the food grown there was used to feed the airline staff and the crew. And that combined with, as Golden Hill Grower was telling me, that a lot of the surplus salts from World War I and World War II that were used by the soldiers to actually grow food for everybody, due to the excess and surplus of it all, those plus all this hydroponic growing, that kind of allowed the the resources to be available and the methodology to grow indoors at a much better rate than was normally seen, just with standard soil and whatnot, just because a lot of this stuff hadn't been figured out yet, or maybe it had, it just nobody gave a fuck. But come towards, I guess, I don't know when you would say 60s, 70s, 80s, when people started really growing indoors. The majority of that was because of security. People were hiding. Out in California and other places, there was mandatory sentencing laws and 3 strikes laws, where you could go to jail for 25, or prison, I should say. But right now, and a lot of people are still growing indoors for some of that. But right now, the majority of people are growing indoor because it's really fucking pretty weed, and they have full control over their growing environment. Now, some would argue that having full control over your growing environment is a positive. It's amazing. It's outstanding. Why would you not want that? Other people would say, well, that's because, it's like playing the game on easy. Yeah, you have full control. What fun is that? You're playing, bots on fucking beginner level. There's nothing being thrown at you. You basically get to kick back and have fun. And it doesn't really say much about the skill of the grower. Now, that's just another perspective, because let's be real, to dial all that shit in and to have all the science behind it and to do the job of, well, the power that created the process. Some people may call it God, whatever the fuck you want to call it. But to have all of that dialed in and to have all that information and to be able to grow stellar cannabis, and not just stellar, I mean, like, again, to where aesthetically it's beyond what nature can do due to the elements. How can you really knock that? I mean, how can you say that's not better? Well, a lot of that really comes down to the ego. And that's kind of what this entire thing is a little bit about. It's the fact that we believe that what we see fully encompasses what the natural process is. And that's where outdoor and greenhouse growers are able to say, well, yeah, your shit may look pretty, but the terpenes aren't there, or maybe they are, but the high's not there. It's usually just kind of dull weed. It's good, but it's just, it's not everything. It just can't be. It can be recreated to some extent, but the fact is there's things, there's spectrums, there's all kinds of shit out there that we just do not have any idea of the effect that they have on our plants beyond, again, what's within our visual spectrum. So we really can't have any idea of even how to begin to comprehend what's possible and what's not. And so that's where the ego kind of steps in, is, well, if all we see is what we can measure, well, then that must be the answer. An argument for indoor, and in a whole nother category, or not even category, but just another realm, maybe that is the path. Maybe the path is that we can do it better, and we may not necessarily know how we're, or where we're lacking, but in the measurable spectrum of things, we are doing better. The weed's prettier. And because of that, I guess, and the cost technically, but because of that, it outsells a lot of outdoor product. But we are able to find different resources and to refine them. And that's the one thing that so far the past has shown us, is that we're able to take basic technology and refine that to a point where we're able to achieve, again, at least prettier weed. Now, we currently grow no-till. Our focus is regenerative farming, but I kind of want to touch on that whole regenerative farming thing. So one of the beliefs or perspectives that I entertain, is that us as humans are some sort of like microbe. And some of us, the ones that are going organic or regenerative, are what we'll call conscious microbes for right now. And I don't mean it in a good way. Hold on. Don't get excited. Give me a second. So one of the ideas is that us conscious microbes are fighting with basically the rest of humanity, or the rest of the microbes. And in a weird way, because we're aware of what we're doing to the planet, we're actually unaware that that's our purpose. And everybody wonders what's their purpose. And so what if humanity's purpose was to actually change Earth? Not like a virus, I guess, or changing the pH, or just going from a bacterial to a fungal soil, going from veg to flower, or just introducing new microbes, like you've got a bland soil and you add a bunch of some lactic acid bacteria, or you add some PNSB, some purple non-sulfur bacteria, or just a bunch of fungi, whatever it is. But that we actually are fighting with ourselves And sorry, I got phones going off and shit. And that we actually have no idea whether this regenerative farming is actually hindering humanity's actual purpose, which is to destroy the planet. And even though it's regenerative farming, it's regenerative to the conscious microbe because we want our planet back. We don't want it destroyed. It's kind of fucking crazy. Now, I don't know, again, it's just something to think about. Now, again, I'm not condoning anything. I'm not condoning salt growers or heavy fertilizer users. But I like to entertain everything, and I like to kind of play this game of logic and shit, and see what I can defend and argue. If consciousness can change a microbe's job, and then that microbe can pass on that information and slowly start affecting other microbes, how else can conscious interaction affect plants and soil life? We already know that music and different frequencies can affect plants and water in different ways. I mean, I'm sure you guys, hopefully you've seen there's some video on fucking YouTube where they talk about water flowing, and basically every time it goes to these 90-degree angles and these unnatural angles, the water memorizes it, and the quality of the water slowly degrades. Whereas, if you look like a natural river, it has these big old winding turns, and it takes its time and it's easy. Or even there's another video where people are like yelling at snowflakes or some shit, and you see the crazy different things that are geometric patterns that are formed, and how being nice and sweet to them or whatever, or saying nice things, they form really beautiful snowflakes, and being angry, it's all fucked up. And they even did that with plants. I think there's a documentary on it on Netflix, actually. But to take that next step, could you give consciousness to a bug? Let's say you had massive fucking spider mites. Well, could you, for instance, create some sort of conscious spider mite? I don't know. I don't know how you would do it. I don't know, maybe that's a whole laboratory. That's torture shit, depending on your whatever. Anyways, but it just started making me think, and it made me wonder, if that's what gurus and enlightened people are doing in our world. If we're actually being turned into, conscious microbes by conscious microbes. I don't know if it's possible to somehow, through literally talking or giving intentional energy towards your bugs, and saying, I don't know, please stop, whatever. I don't fucking know, but it's possible that could do something at some point, especially people talking to their plants and whispering to their plants, and it's all about energy and supplying that energy and directing it towards this or that. And so, to kind of come full circle on all this, when we're, and I'm guilty as fuck of it as well as everybody is, when we're talking to other farmers about their growing philosophies and what they use and why they use it, hopefully just remember this conversation, that it's possible that they could actually be doing exactly what humanity is supposed to be doing. And we're the ones that are fucking up humanity's process. Or they are fucking it up. Fucking up the world, and ain't nothing we can do about it. But regardless of what it is, maybe change the conversation into, well, how can each of you use each other's information to become better growers? I'm a firm believer in data, and having the data or the information to make smarter decisions is why I believe organic growers should be listening to, I guess, synthetic or salt growers, and vice versa. I think salt growers can learn a fuck ton from organic and soil science growers, specifically because they'll better understand their process and what their bottles are actually doing. You know, a lot of them are just like, oh, well, it does this and it does this. Yeah, but you're taking away the job of this microbe, and this microbe, and this is actually what else they do, and this is how they contribute. You know, and so maybe if you added a little bit of this or a little bit more of this, you might get a better end product. Or for the soil science growers, understanding why certain bottles or nutrients are used in a certain way, and understanding why something may be in a product, and what its goal is, and kind of comparing that to your soil and seeing, well, do you have the same capabilities to supply the same power in the same time frame, as in, is your soil able to keep up when it needs to keep up? So anyways, this one is a short one. It's all about just food for thought. I hope everybody's having a great one. I know this is just kind of all free willy-nilly. So if you have any comments, recommendations, I would appreciate it. Other than that, I'm just trying to put out some information and give people something to think about, and hopefully we can all grow together. So with that, thank you for listening to How to Start a Cannabis Farm. Thanks.